Hello, everyone, and welcome to Two Show Day. I'm your host, Diana Shabai Booker, and I am so excited about my guest today. She was one of the first people I met when I started working on Capital Region Theater, and I knew immediately she was like someone to know. So please welcome Elizabeth Sherwood-Mack.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, Diana. Thank you for asking me to be here.
Oh my gosh, thank you for being here. I am so excited. Yeah, we met, I believe you were the board liaison when we did Complete Works of William Shakespeare Abridged.
I sure was.
Yeah, and you just like that first meeting, you like had all the answers because you had done 30 plus productions at that point.
Yeah, I'm in the 40s
You're
now.
in the 40s now. Yeah,
for productions at SLOC, and that's not just like on stage. It's many hats and many different things. But
yes,
40 plus. Yes.
Yeah, amazing. So
Wild.
How did this all start for you? How did you get into theater?
Honestly, church. When I was little, my grandmother was an active member of her church.
Okay.
And she was also very musical and very artsy and very theatrical. Maybe not on stage all the time, but like a theatrical woman for sure.
Just in her life, yeah.
So like my first sort of like theatrical productions were like Christmas nativities.
Okay.
And I was often a sheep or a small angel and you know, of course, never drawing focus from the main story because I would never. But yeah, that was that. And just like, I definitely got into musical theater and the arts from my grandmother, and then my father, who plays like a million instruments and is very musical. My mom is not musical, but very much appreciates it and is like a big supporter. So I've been doing it since itty bitty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember like the first show that you saw or that you were in and you were like, yeah, this is what I want to spend my time doing?
Well, the first thing I like truly played on stage, which is actually very funny, is I played the Witch's Feet in The Wizard of Oz. So like in our elementary school, like they had this thing where elementary school kids could like quote unquote like audition for like the middle school or high school productions. And like, so our choir teacher at the time, Mrs. John Mateo, shout out, she was like, we need some like spirited kids, and it was gonna be like munchkins and like little bit whatever.
Sure.
And so they were like, we need someone with like short little legs. And I got like rolled out. Like my legs just were out with like tights, and then they rolled me like, I don't know, some
Were you
stage
on like
dad.
a skateboard
Sure
or something?
Was. No,
like,
it wasn't a skateboard. It was one of those like gym scooters.
Oh, that you like roll your fingers on.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay,
yeah.
love it.
So, and then you just whoop, and then you whoop, and I'm sure it was like some stage dad or someone was like, all right, come on, we're coming back in. So yeah, I played the Witch's Feet.
Wow.
Yeah, award-winning role. But then I really got serious about it when my grandma took me to New York when I was 13. And I was very spoiled that weekend. We saw 3 shows at once.
Oh, wow.
Saw The Lion King, saw The Producers, and saw Bernadette Peters in Annie, Get Your Gun.
Okay.
So
just 3
locked in,
heavy hitters.
Locked in, and yeah, that was it. And
wow.
I was done for sure.
Yeah.
Especially with Bernadette. Like,
oh, yeah.
She's my gal. I mean, my dog is named after her. So.
Really?
She is. She's a little French bulldog. She's going to be 11 this year.
Oh,
we have the same birthday. It's all very dramatic.
I love everything about that sentence. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So you did briefly mention this. You do wear a lot of hats in the
Yes,
community theater scene.
I do.
Actor, director, stage manager, hair and makeup, board member. Those are just a few I could think of.
Those are the big ones.
Those are the big ones.
For
okay.
Sure. Yeah.
How did you get into these things, from the Witch's Feet to direction?
Okay. Well, I would say in high school, it was like survival mode. You know how high school theater goes, is like, if you're not doing your own hair and makeup, there's a mom or a teenage girl slapping an ungodly amount of blush on your cheeks. So like, you sort of just learn. And like, I mean, we were lucky. I was lucky that I like grew up in the age of YouTube, where I could watch and sit, all afternoon and watch videos and be like, oh my gosh, that's how drag queens do it? Okay, I'm going to do that, but make it applicable to like high school in rural Columbia County.
Sure.
So
okay. Yeah.
like I would teach myself how to do hair and makeup, and also like not for nothing, I was one of the only like people of color in my drama program oftentimes. So knowing how to like do my own hair and do my makeup, and it was one of those things that like I took pride and joy in, and I enjoyed doing it. And then I just did I enjoyed it. So I wound up doing it more for that. And then when I started getting into SLOC, Marcia, a very good friend of mine, a lovely, lovely lady, she was the hair and makeup director for SLOC for a very long time, and I did shows with her at SLOC and at Not So Common and other places, and she sort of took me under her wing along with Deshita Cortez, and we were all doing sort of hair and makeup and helping each other out. And eventually Marcia looked at me one day and she said, I don't want to do this anymore. Not all the time anyway. I need a break. Do you want to sort of start to take over a bit? I trust you. You're doing great. And I was like, sure. And here we are, like 10 plus years later, and I'm one of the hair and makeup directors for SLOC.
That's amazing. Is there any of these roles that like you just gravitate towards the most? Do you have a favorite child? Normally you're not supposed to have favorites, of course, but of course you always do.
I would say directing for sure. But it was something that I always thought about, and for a really long time I was like, I don't want to do this until I've performed in a lot of the things I want to perform in, and I don't want to do this until I have like all the right things in line. Like I just wanted to make sure I had experiences in multiple places, because my favorite directors that I've ever worked with have been like really well-rounded people. They've had some experience in like other facets, whether it be acting on stage or other tech elements, and I just felt like as a director, you kind of owe that to your actors and to your team, is to be knowledgeable in other areas, just so you can serve the production in the best way and have some understanding. Like, I will never claim to fully understand lights or sound or those elements, because those involve math sometimes. And the math, it gets me. And I do try my best, and I will always, divert to them, because like, but for sure directing. I really enjoy it quite a lot. And I got like my boost in directing because of SLOC, and I worked with Sev Morrow on youth production for Beauty and the Beast, and he was the first person I ever assistant directed for, and I just like got the bug. And I also at an early age knew that I loved working with kids, so having those two things sort of go hand in hand worked out really well. And then secondly, Michael Camello, another guest of your
friend
show
of the pod,
day, friend of the pod, yes. He and I are great friends, and I want to say a handful of years ago, maybe 5 years ago, he was like, you should be directing. You kind of already do, and you don't know you're doing it. And you should do it in a capacity where like you should be doing it, instead of getting credit for it, or instead of just being like, hey, what do you think about this for that scene? Like, I would be like doing hair and makeup and be like, what if so-and-so Susie Q went over there and did that thing? And he'd be like, you're right, but you're not directing right now. So, and I'm like, okay. So I've been his assistant director at Scotia Glenville for a handful of years now, and we have a blast, and it's always great, and it's fun.
So, well, that rolls into my next question. I wanted to talk about SLOC's youth production.
Wonderful.
So, was Beauty and the Beast your first experience with the youth production?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, see, now because when you do so many productions at SLOC, you start to lose focus on like when things happen.
Sure.
I've done a lot. I think my first was Shrek. I think Shrek. Yes, I think Shrek came first.
Okay.
Shrek came first. I did some things lightly in the time when they did like Les Mis, but not so much.
Okay.
And with Sev, just sort of like in the outskirts, in the cloud of like, ooh, I'm interested, but I'm not ready to quite dip my toe, kind of a thing. So Shrek was first, and I did a lot of hair and makeup on that. And I also had a small guest spot, which we definitely should not have done because it was not licensed, but I came out as Rafiki. It was a thing the kids wanted. I did it as a spoof one day during rehearsal, and Sev was like, yeah, you have time and all the time of like getting everyone into their fairy tale makeup to put a full Rafiki face on. and a grass skirt and come out and hold up Simba to like start the show.
Disney's going to do a retroactive lawsuit based on this podcast
episode. For purposes.
No, it was only in rehearsal.
This is a joke. Yeah. Only in rehearsal did that happen.
Never did it happen in performances.
Sure did not. But yeah, and then I worked on Beauty and the Beast, and I've worked on every single youth production since then.
Amazing.
So like 2015 on, 2014 on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're 10 years into
deep.
this.
We're in it.
Youth production. Incredible. So this upcoming season,
yes,
you are directing Hadestown as a youth production.
I am.
So what keeps you coming back to this slot?
I just love it.
Yeah.
I love SLOC, and it truly is my theater home. I've worked at a lot of different theaters in the Capital District and been very lucky to do so and privileged to do so. But SLOC truly is a place where I've found my home. I was on the board for 9 years. I've worn a lot of hats there, and I just feel really comfortable there, and I've always felt really welcome there, and I just enjoy it, and I love working with kids. I got to do theater in high school, but really only in a high school capacity, and I did one community theater show when I was a teenager, but in Columbia County, sports were the thing, and 4-H, and very sort of rural community things, the things you'd expect. So there wasn't always as much money dedicated toward the arts, other than, of course, classes and stuff like that. But it just really struck me that I wished as a kid I had had more opportunities to dip my toe into the theater world. So getting to experience that with kids now firsthand, it's like a little self-serving of feeding that inner child of
Yeah.
And it's also kids are so, even if they're shy or nervous, I find that they don't have those jaded events in life that keep you a little inhibited as an adult sometimes.
Sure.
They're still willing to play a bit more and try things sometimes that we as adults have maybe a little bit of a harder time doing, just because we've got big adult life problems going on and teenagers do too, but it's a different capacity, and it's a nice place to come escape. And also just being a safe space for kids is really important to me, and theater was always a safe space for me.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoy providing that for kids.
Yeah. I don't think it's self-serving. I think you're just passing the baton, you had this experience with theater in your youth and you want kids now to have the same experience.
Yes.
I think that's amazing. Yeah.
I love it.
Something I love about the youth production, well, there's many things. I love that it's tuition free.
Yes.
Which is one of the few youth programs in this area.
We might be the only one. We might be the only one. I know several wonderful youth productions have scholarship programs and all these different things, but we might be the only one that's completely tuition free. I'm not 100% certain, so don't quote me on that. But for a long time, we really were.
Yeah, and it's part of the regular season too. If you buy SLOC subscription, you are getting a youth production. It's not summer camp that you do in the summer for your friends. It's people come to this, which is amazing. And there's the YPA aspect of it, the youth production assistant. So there are high school age are in the cast, but you also have every aspect of production also has kids involved.
Yes, we sure do. 2 productions ago now, so not Mean Girls, but the one before, Tarzan, Stephen Faust and his team, which I got to be a part of as the stage manager, very lucky. It was the first youth production we had done back since the COVID shutdown, and we knew it was going to be a rebuilding year, and Stephen was adamant, and I love him for this, and the team wanted to make sure that all kids could get involved. And not everybody wants to be on stage. Some kids want to be in the pit or backstage or doing other elements of production, and it's a way to get new faces in the theater and expand the community even more. So I think it's one of the best things that SLOC has done recently. And
I also love Did I make a note about this? Yes, I did. It's like it's a real community theater show, and like you said, there isn't a parent backstage slapping blush on you. Like you, of course, there are you know, the hair and makeup people, and there's supervision, but it's like you're responsible for getting to your cues on time, and no one's gonna hold your hand. And this is like people are paying money to see you right now.
There's a lot of responsibility put on these students, and they rise to the occasion every single time. And honestly, sometimes even if the program is a way that a student finds out, I thought I loved this aspect, but I don't. I actually love this aspect. That's perfect. That's wonderful. Fine. That's how you figure things out, is by trying it, is trial and error. And like, it's okay to try things and fail, and it's okay to try things and love it and like be successful at it. But I have met some of the most wonderful students through the youth productions at SLOC. Actually, Monty McCalman, who is going to be directing Dreamgirls this fall at SLOC, and also choreographing Hadestown, because they are a booked and busy, blessed person.
So busy, so busy.
I first met them when they were 16 years old in Beauty and the Beast.
In the youth production? No way.
They are phenomenal. And just, I'm so blessed to have them on my team this year. But it creates those connections of, you know, you meet people and you don't know where life is going to take them, but if you create an atmosphere where people feel valued and safe and they enjoy their time, they will come back. So
wonderful. So let's talk about why Hadestown specifically. Of all the shows, like you think about, high school theater. You're thinking, you go to like Golden Age or like Grease or like
Disney.
Something you can put a whole bunch of kids in the background in, Tree Number 2, all that. This is like not like an adult show, but it's a grown-up show. It's dark for sure. So why did you submit this?
I submitted this, number one, because it's one of my favorite
incredible
shows.
show.
It's so wonderful. But oftentimes, I think in life, history, politics, pop culture, if you are a child, or if you are a teenager or a young person or someone under the age of 25, you are often silenced in ways that people do not ever discuss. And you are not given the credit for being young, intelligent people with thoughts and ideas and notions about how to make the world a better place. And Hadestown talks about a lot of those elements about the world and about dreaming of things to be better, but also celebrating the things that we have in this very moment, and talking about how to make things better, but how we get there, but also not forgetting what we have. And I think that's a wonderful lesson for youth to have, and also to feel powerful in sharing those messages and their feelings on it. And not to make it political, but like, art is political.
Inherently.
It's inherently so. And it just gives a voice to people who may not always have that voice. You know, oftentimes theater kids, not to portray a stereotype, but theater sometimes is the place where people who don't feel like they belong anywhere else wind up oftentimes, because you can come as you are and be anything and be anyone. And I think Hadestown sort of is a great vessel for that, with a great message. And it just is a killer score and story, and based in Greek mythology. And I love that too. And so...
Yeah, that's so great. I've never really thought about that sort of aspect of it before. Like, it's, you know, Orpheus is a poor boy. He's referred to a lot in the script, but it's like having actual young adults do it, like that adds this whole other element to it of like, you know,
absolutely,
the kids are all right. The kids are going to be the ones
it's
that
kind of like when you
change the world.
see a production of Spring Awakening done with youth. It adds that whole other layer, because normally it's a show you see done by adults, and normally so. There's a lot of like really dark subject matter, but I saw a wonderful production of it at Playhouse Stage just last year, and it hit so deep because it was actual students doing it, and you were like, oh my gosh, that's right. I forgot for like 2 seconds. You know, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. So you just had auditions last week. The cast list is out.
Yes.
You had even more people show up than last year. You had 105 kids show up to auditions.
Yeah, 104 in the room, and then 2 actually video submissions. 106 was our final count.
Wow.
It was a lot.
So How, I mean, I was in the room with you last year when we did Mean Girls with very similar numbers, but I know how hard this process is, but like, how do you narrow it down to the top 25% of that?
To kind of go off what you say too, you say top 25%, but we could have cast this show 3-4 times over. The talent in the Capital Region is insane. Yeah. These youth come into these auditions and immediately they open their mouths and I am like jealous. I'm like, what? How dare you? First of all, be 14 years old and sound, like Jessica Bosk. Like, how dare you? But it's one of those shows too that is, like you said, not your average production that you see done by youth. So it's a show that will require some things stylistically that are different and maybe out of the wheelhouse of some, which just because maybe they haven't been exposed to it yet. It's got a different style of music. It's very rooted in African music, Creole music, music of the South. It's not something that everyone has been exposed to or had the privilege to, and I hope to get to do that with this production, is expose kids to things that they maybe haven't had a chance to yet. But it was tough. It's really hard saying no to some, because I would love to have a cast of 106. It's just not something we can do on our tiny SLOC stage or even tinier backstage. Yeah,
there's barely room backstage for 25 when you do like circle pre-show. It's like, okay, everybody get in there.
We have to get really comfortable and we love each other a lot, and thank goodness.
Yeah. Well, that's really exciting. I can't wait to see that. And doing something, the youth production that has all these amazing elements just built into the program itself, but also doing something that is like, like just more, I don't want to say challenging, but
it takes it an extra step. It is more challenging for sure. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, amazing. So this year you are also gearing up to play the Keeper of the Keys, the Countess of the Clink, Matron Mama Morton.
I am.
At Colonial Little Theater. I know you just started rehearsal recently, but how's your experience been so far?
So lovely.
Yeah.
I love working at CLT. Everyone there is so wonderful. I did a production there before of Spelling Bee, actually directed by Jeffrey P. Hawking.
Friend of the pod.
Best friend of mine, former roommate, friend of the pod, all the things, mayor, box office extraordinaire.
Of course. We should hang a picture of
Jeffrey
up,
he just, everywhere we go, I'm going to frame a photo. I probably have a photo of him somewhere that I could frame, and I'll just take it with me wherever we go. And just, it's perfect.
Just be a presence.
He should be everywhere. He is everywhere, actually. And if you don't think he is,
That's where he'll be
You're
next.
Wrong. Yeah. That's where he'll be next. But CLT is wonderful. It's like just tucked away in Johnstown, and it's so lovely, and it's the perfect driving distance for an audiobook or any like little thing, or learning your lines, and I love it. And this is a role that I have always wanted to play and has sort of just always eluded me, and it doesn't get done in community theater a lot because it's always touring and it's always on Broadway, which wonderful for them, but kind of sucky for us because we want to have it too. The amount of times we've tried to get the rights to that show and it's just been like so close, and so when I saw that it was getting done and I was like, yes, I have to go, I will go. And so I'm enjoying it. It's great.
Amazing. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't know about CLT or sleep on it, but like they're doing some weird and wonderful stuff there.
They sure are. I just saw Ride the Cyclone.
Ride the Cyclone.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
And Head Over Heels last summer they did. Both of which are like kind of weird shows,
funky.
But both of them have had vision. And like that's what really brings it together. I remember I was telling my boss that I saw Head Over Heels, and she was like, "Oh yeah, we saw that on Broadway," and I thought it was like one of the worst things I've ever seen. And I was like, you know what? Like I can kind of see how it would be if it didn't have vision. And they said it in like the club scene, and it was like sort of not quite in the round, but like more immersive. And it was like, I can kind of get this if we dial up the camp here and just lean into this weird Go-Go's musical. Then like it works.
Absolutely, and they certainly did. Like I went to see that production. I had a lot of wonderful friends in that production, and they were in the audience. They were dancing right in front of you. They make wonderful use of their small space. They get really creative. They have a solid group of core performers and designers and educators there who really put on fabulous productions, and they make the use of their space, and they just treat you really well when you work there, and I enjoy it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is July.
Yes.
Performances are in July.
18th.
July 18th it opens. Wonderful.
It sure
and
does.
tickets are like super cheap.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, is they make
So good.
make it really accessible.
Yep. Totally worth your time. It's like what? Half an hour from Schenectady, if that?
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. Even a little shorter if you drive like me.
Worth it.
Which
Worth
I
the
do
trip.
not recommend, but you know.
Amazing. Okay, let's get into our shows today.
Yay! Oh, I'm so excited.
So, first you have some beef, though.
Like mild beef, and I'm glad you brought it up, Diana.
Yep.
Because I emailed you, and I was like, "Oh,
I'm part of the problem. I totally admit
it's
this.
fine. It's fine. It's an accident. I really wanted to talk about Spelling Bee." And I was like, you know what? If I don't talk about Spelling Bee, I'll talk about Avenue Q. But I was like, no, I can't talk about Avenue Q because Jeffrey P. Hawking needed to talk about
Once
it.
again.
But here's the thing. Similarly to Jeffrey, when we love a show, we love it. We are repeat show offenders. I, at this point, have a three-peat with several shows, and the one I'm going to be talking about, I have a three-peat with, and also for Avenue Q. Avenue Q? No, just two for Avenue Q, but I'd love to do it a third time. But it's something, it tickles the ADHD spot in my brain. When I find a show I like, I will hyperfixate and I will perform in it as many times as I can.
Oh, I'm the same way. Not as a performer, but with movies or shows or anything. If I like something, I am in. Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Locked in.
Yeah. So what's your show today?
So my show today is Hello, Dolly.
Yay.
Yay, yeah. And I first got exposed to this show actually by my grandmother. And it was not a stage production. It was the movie musical version starring the wonderful, ever-talented, effervescent Barbara Streisand.
Yes.
And Walter Matthau.
That's right. I'm only familiar with the movie. I've not had the privilege of seeing this in person before. So,
we're going to have plenty to talk about then.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
And also, you wouldn't think that that's like the first movie musical that a child would watch. People think like, oh, Wizard of Oz,
Or
Sound
The
of
Sound of
Music,
Music,
or whatever.
yeah.
My grandmother tried to show me the Wizard of Oz, and I was petrified.
It's scary.
It's very scary.
It's weird, and
And I was scared before it even got to Oz. Like I took one look at the sepia tone Mrs. Gulch, and I was like, no, I've had enough.
That's
She's
scary,
mean to
lady.
animals.
Yeah,
I'm not about it. No, thank you.
I mean, that is scary.
And something about the
take away your dog.
Exactly, and the Twister scene with the pigs, and they were mean, and it was like she fell in the thing, and I couldn't do it. So my grandma dialed it back and was like, you know what? Let's watch Hello, Dolly. So I sat and watched it, and I was locked in. Like, I was like, who is that? With her flaming red hair and these gorgeous hats and dresses. And it's in New York City. And my grandmother and my aunts always were going to like New York City. They would go see, the Rockettes all the time and Riverdance, and they were taking bus trips all the time, and they loved it. So I knew from a young age, like, that New York City was like a fun place you could go
There's
for
stuff
a day
happening there.
and just enjoy yourself. So even at like 4 or 5, when I probably saw this for the first time, I knew. I was like, oh, so this is Yonkers in New York City like a long time ago. And I was captivated by it. And I love a big ensemble show. I love a dance number. I am not a dancer. I am a vocalist and then mover. Second. I'll learn the choreo, but it will take me some time. So I love watching anything that is not like in my wheelhouse, and I just love analyzing it. And they have these huge dance numbers that are just like so fun and gorgeous. So I love them. And my grandma introduced me to it, and I watched it. And it's based off of the 1934 play, The Matchmaker.
Right.
And it was obviously made famous in 1964 on Broadway. It opened in Detroit in 1963, but then it opened on Broadway in 1964 with the Carol Channing as
incredible
Dolly Levi herself. And Carol was like the longest running Dolly because she did, let me count, I think 1, 2, 3, 4. she did like 4 or 5 different productions of it
Yeah,
at different
she kept
ages.
coming back.
Like
yeah.
1964, 1978, 1995. I think those are all of them. Oh, yeah, and then the 1998 West End revival. So she revived herself, as you do when you're Carol Channing. And she was just so stellar, and people like Mary Martin and Pearl Bailey and Barbara Streisand and Bernadette and Bette Midler, like all these wonderful Broadway sensational divas have played this, titular character, and they've got me hooked on it for sure. But it's basically just Dolly Levi is this matchmaker and very meddlesome, and I love a gal who loves to know things. I too am a gal I always refer to myself as harmlessly nosy. I don't need to do anything with your information, but I do want to know. I just want to know.
I feel that.
It's hard. I get the FOMO real bad. But she is hired by Horace Van de Gelder, who owns Horace Van de Gelder's Hay and Feed, to come and take his niece away to the city for the day, because he's trying to get her away from this penniless artist, Ambrose Kemper, which was played famously in the movie by Tommy Tune, who
That's right. Yes.
I love, and I blame Tommy Tune for my obsession with tall men, because
legs for days.
It's a problem because it was him, and then it was Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins, and it just started a long history of it's his fault. But men who dance and are very tall, it's fine. But it's just. And then so he's trying to get her away. And he's like, you know what? Take her to the city for a weekend away, and it'll be great, and she'll forget all about Ambrose Kemper. Well, Dolly Levi likes to meddle. So she's like, that's not what we're doing.
Right.
She's like, we're going to take you along, Ambrose, to the city, and you are going to compete in this like wonderful polka contest at Harmonia Gardens, the most fabulous, restaurant in all of New York City, and you're going to win the money, and then you won't be penniless anymore, and Horace will just have to accept you, and you'll be fine, it'll be great, and it's going to be lovely. Sure.
That's how it's going to go.
Yeah, chaos ensues, of course. But along the way, though, Dolly is a widow herself, and she is not always looking for her next husband, but she's not opposed to it. And she knows that Horace Van de Gelder is a widower, and he is also single, so she has been hired by him to also help make a match. And whether it's on purpose or a happy accident, he has not had success in love yet with the matches she's been setting him up with. So she finally says, oh, I know this Irene Malloy. She's fabulous. She's a milliner in a hat shop. You'll love her. She runs her own business. She's a woman with her own money. She's a lady about town. You'll love her. And so as Ermengarde is preparing to go to the city with Dolly, so is Horace, and he's going to visit Irene. And they all get on this wonderful train that is gorgeous and probably not safe at all, because it's completely open air and it's barreling down, to New York City from Yonkers. But they do this huge number of Put On Your Sunday Clothes. It's so good. The orchestrations are just perfection. And in the revival, they turned the people themselves into the train, and they were all in white. And there was this parasol that she was holding, and it was stunning. I love a big showy number. I love glitz, the glam, the old Broadway, but also when they like revive it and make it new and feel fresh and modern somehow. I love that. So it gets them down to the city, and this is how I have to circle back here, but Cornelius and Barnaby are two characters that work in Horace Van de Gelder's Hay and Feed, and they never get a day off because Horace is stingy. He can't. He's like, no, you will work. If I'm not here, you're here.
Very pre-labor laws.
Oh, absolutely. Barnaby is 100% like 16 years old.
Yeah,
and there's
sleeping there or something.
Oh, yeah, for sure. In the hay and feed cellar, for sure. There's no rules at all. But they both just want to have this one magical day in New York City. And, Cornelius is like, I will go to New York City and I will kiss a girl. I'm going to do that. I'm going to fall in love. So they plan to go as well. But then they wind up in Irene Malloy's hat shop. And they meet Irene and Minnie, and they are immediately smitten, of course, and there's a whole lovely dance number, and it's lovely. And of course, surprise, surprise, Dolly Levi finds her way there too.
What?
And eggs it on. Oh, crazy, because why would she do that? She does that because she wants Horace for herself, and she needs to find a suitable replacement. And she's trying to match up Cornelius and Irene and Minnie and Barnaby. And it goes well until, of course, Horace is outside of the milliner shop and sees men in the shop. And so, of course, that ruins any plans that he's got for Irene, and then, of course, makes him very, very upset with Dolly Levi. But she's just, coy the entire time, and she goes, I have no idea what you're talking about, and I've never seen these men before in my life, and oh no, couldn't be, but I've got a new girl for you. Of course, she always has something,
got somebody in her back
always
pocket.
Puts her hand in there. That's one of the key songs she starts the show out with. But she introduces him to Ernestina Money, who is quote unquote an heiress. She is not. She is a local showgirl dancer who Dolly has paid to put on very fancy airs. And she tells Horace, meet her at Harmonia Gardens. It'll be a wonderful first date. She's an heiress. It's great. She's got her own money. You're going to love her. He, of course, hears the word heiress and is like, oh, yeah, okay. Even though Dolly has steered him wrong literally every single time.
He's like, surely this time
it'll be different, and she won't lie to me. But so they wind up, after a wonderful day in the city, and Dolly sings this beautiful, huge number called Before the Parade Passes By. It's the big, big number, and it's just about her moving on and realizing that she does want to find love again, and she knows who she wants to find it with. And she doesn't say it explicitly in the show ever, but where it's headed, and that's her end goal.
Right.
And they all magically, all of these groups and pairs wind up at Harmonia Gardens, and it's a lot of slapstick whodunit, curtains open at the table, running around during polka dances of, did I just see them? No, I didn't. Oh my goodness, there they are. And a huge, beautiful number of Hello, Dolly. It's the grand staircase and the beautiful dress, and everything.
Isn't it Louis Armstrong in the movie?
In the movie, it's Louis Armstrong. It is, and he actually did a whole album after being in the movie called Hello, Dolly.
Oh, that's right.
Inspired by the musical, and he won so many awards for it. And Hello, Dolly, actually, when it premiered in 1964 at the Tonys, it won 10 Tony Awards.
Wow.
And then for 30 years after that, held that record.
Yeah.
And I forgot to look up who broke their record, but it was 2001. So whatever won in 2001,
I know
a lot.
The Producers has the most wins total in history.
So
that might be it.
So it might be that. That makes sense, because I would have been 13, and that's when I went to go see The Producers. So I bet it's The Producers.
There you go.
Wow. Teamwork. Look at us go. But yeah, so it all goes awry and amiss at Harmonia Gardens. Everyone's found out. The police come. There's a pie in the face. There's slapstick humor. People are running all over. And the entire time, of course, Dolly has paid Ernestina to not show up. But she shows up. And she takes the place at the table. And she very famously does the, you go your way and I'll go mine. And she points in the exact same way. And he never realizes, because he's too busy, grumbling and grussing the whole time. And she's just talking a mile a minute. And slowly but surely, you see Horace start to soften to Dolly, even though he cannot stand her antics. I think he also loves it, because it keeps things fresh and lively. But at the end of it, at the end of Harmonia Gardens, Dolly's kind of fed up with him just being a grump the whole time. And she sings goodbye to him, and she's like, well, when you get your act together, let me know. You'll realize, that kind of a thing. And then Act 2 is a courtroom scene where, of course, because Barnaby and Cornelius had no money, because they work for Horace Vandegelder, they've run out of Harmonia Gardens without paying, and they're stopped by the police, and it's a whole thing. And he sings a beautiful song in the courtroom called It Only Takes a Moment, meaning it only takes a moment to fall in love. And he's fallen in love with Irene, and she's fallen in love with him in this one beautiful day in the city. And as you do in a musical,
of course,
you fall in love in one day.
One short day.
Because we only have 3 hours. But yeah, it just progresses and progresses. And then everyone, of course, you know, is released from the courtroom, and no one goes to jail, and it's all happy ending. And in the end, everybody is back in Yonkers the next day, and Dolly Levi comes back to Horace's hay and feed store, and she was this entire time just always looking for a sign from Ephraim, her late husband. And she says at one point in the show, Ephraim, just give me a sign, I'd love to see it. And the first time she sees the hay and feed store, she goes, oh, I really think this needs forest green shutters. That's what would take this business to the next step. It needs forest green shutters. And at the end, she comes back and she sees that Horace is having the shutters painted over in forest green without knowing. And so she takes that as her sign from Ephraim that Horace is the one for sure. And then Walter Matthau sings a reprise of Hello, Dolly, and everyone's in love and they get married. So it's one of those things that is just, it's just gushy, lovely theater, and sometimes you just need that. And I just love it.
Yeah.
And
I love all of that. I love like the
I could talk about it for days.
Shakespearean mistaken identity.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not here. Yes, I am. Like I love all of that.
Absolutely.
Slapsticky stuff.
It's very much like I'm holding a napkin up.
Correct.
And you don't know that it's your niece
right.
and her, you know, fiance. And I'm going to dance behind a broomstick. And
yes.
you don't see that it's me dancing behind a broomstick.
Yeah.
Like it's just, and it has served as one of those shows that has always had stars in it because it's such an ensemble cast. Like you have Barnaby and Cornelius, you have Irene and Minnie, you have Horace and Dolly, you have the waiters. Like she sings a whole number, Hello, Dolly, where she sings to every single one of the waiters, and all of those waiters are named and they all have personalities. And Ernestina is a hilarious character. So it serves as a vehicle for just big Broadway and featuring a lot of like really awesome names. And the most recent revival starred Bette Midler, and I unfortunately did not get to see her, but I did get to see Bernadette.
Oh, very nice.
So it was, you know, I'll take it.
Yeah.
There are, you know, speaking of notable recordings, there aren't a ton of recordings out there, but there are, I would never suggest this, but there are some lovely quote unquote slime tutorials on the YouTube. If you know, you know, you can find them for sure. But the most recent production had people in it like David Hyde Pierce was Horace, right? And Taylor Trench was Barnaby, and Kate Baldwin was Irene, and Beanie Feldstein was Minnie, and Gavin Creel was in it as Cornelius, and he was just so lovely.
Won a Tony Award for that.
He sure did. Rightly so. He was fabulous. But it just gives me the good feelings, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love watching something that gives nostalgia, and I'm a daydreamer and a certified, you know, like lover girl and love of all the things love. And it's one of those shows where you watch it and it's about living that one perfect day, going somewhere and making all your dreams come true in one day, and just having big ideas. And I still do that to this day. I love going to New York by myself. I do it often if I can, and I just go and spend like 2 or 3 days, see as many shows as possible. You got to romanticize your life, you know?
Absolutely.
And I think that show is kind of the epitome of that.
I think Hello, Dolly is also sort of unique in the way that it's like, it's a period piece and it's like a rom-com, but Dolly also makes things happen for herself.
Oh,
like a woman in that era who is widowed could have so easily just been in mourning for the rest of her life and just closed up shop.
Absolutely.
But not only is she trying to find love for other people, she is like,
She's a businesswoman.
There. She is a businesswoman. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So you said you've done this production or done the show 3 times.
Multiple times, yes.
So what in
high school?
What sort of roles? Yeah.
High school, a community theater production I probably don't want to talk about as much.
Great.
We'll move on. And then I got to do it again with Family Players, which they are no longer a theater company, but were a theater company for a very long time up here. And I did several shows with them when I first started doing community theater after college up here with Jeffrey P. Hawking and Julie Phillips.
We need a drinking game.
It's
every
his
time
fault.
Jeffrey is mentioned.
It's really all his fault. I mean, truly, it is. He cast me in my first community theater production.
Oh my God.
In 2010.
Wow.
Yeah, 2010, Spelling Bee. And then I did Seussical with Family Players, and then I did I did Hello Dolly with Family Players.
Wow.
I did 3 of them. And they're all his fault. I love him for it. But yeah, he really, that's really what community theater is around here, is like having that friend that's like, you should do this, or you'd be great for that, or come try this. And then you just stick around because it's so great. But I've done this production a lot. I've been in the ensemble, and I also played Ernestina. But one of these days, Irene or Dolly, I just gotta do it.
Yeah, I think especially with this sort of age standard that Bet and Bernadette set with this revival, I feel like it's skewing older these days.
You can play funny thing. Barbara Streisand in the movie, 26.
26, not even 30.
And not even 30. And like little tidbit behind the scenes, Walter Matthau hated her.
Oh no.
Hated her. Oh, because he was actually closer to the age of like Horace's age at the time. He was, so she's late 30s, 40s.
Some
he was
young whippersnapper.
Yeah. And so I don't know that he hated her, but he definitely did not like her. And they didn't get along. And she was a big personality, and so was he. So I think the grumpiness and the black cat golden retriever of it all sort of didn't meld well together. But eventually then later on in life, they enjoyed each other quite a lot. But it's been played by people who are like in their 20s, which weird. But I guess you could be a widower at that day and age, at 26, because you were probably getting married at 17 or 18. Sure. So it's very possible. But yeah, it definitely should be, I think it should be a woman who's like lived some life.
Absolutely.
40s-ish.
Yes. Especially
older.
Yeah. When she has, before the parade passes by, it's like you have to, go through some shit before you make this realization, and make the realization when she tells Horace, you're not ready to handle me yet. It's like, know your worth. Yeah.
Absolutely know your worth. And you got to live your life to know your worth still.
Exactly.
For
sure.
sure.
You got to learn some lessons. Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for bringing Hello Dolly to the stage.
Yeah.
So my show today, we decided on, when you said you're going to do Hello Dolly, I decided to do a rom-com theme. And I've talked about how much I love this show, but I haven't talked about it yet. So my show is She Loves Me, which is from the same era. It premiered April 1963 on Broadway. It's written by Joe Masteroff, who also wrote the book for Cabaret. It's based on the play Parfumerie by Mikolos Laszlo. Music is by Jerry Bach, lyrics by Sheldon Harnick, who also wrote Fiddler on the Roof and Fiorello and The Apple Tree and all that. It was directed by Hal Prince, who did everything. He did everything. So yeah, notable productions were that 1963 on Broadway. It was in the West End the year after that. There was a Broadway revival in 1993 and in 2016. So many people have been in this cast. Barbara Cook, Madeline Kahn, Judy Kuhn, Kelly O'Hara, Laura Benanti, Barry Bostwick, Boyd Gaines, Rita Moreno, Jane Krakowski, Victor Garber, and Gavin Creel. Another connection there.
Yes.
There is a recording of the 2016 production. Yeah. It was on Broadway HD. It was the first Broadway show to be live streamed, which is really exciting, and it's still available there. There are cast recordings of all the Broadway productions, but if you know the movies, The Shop Around the Corner, In the Good Old Summertime, or You've Got Mail, they all share the same source material, and they're all excellent. No, In the Good Old Summertime is not that excellent, but it's Judy Garland, and like, how can you go wrong? It's almost the same story, but they put this song In the Good Old Summertime at the start, and then it runs the regular course, and it still ends at Christmas. So it's like, why did we call it this?
No, it's kind of like how Meet Me in St. What is Judy Garland's problem? It's kind of like how Meet Me in St. Louis, everybody's like, Christmas movie. And I'm like, it has one scene.
It takes place over
Christmas.
a whole year.
And I will admit, I do watch it every year while I'm wrapping presents.
I love Meet Me in St. Louis.
But I love it. But not to get off track, but it's Judy Garland's fault.
This year I try to watch 300 unique movies a year, but this year is the year of Judy. So I'm trying to watch all of her major releases that I haven't seen this year.
Yes.
So there's going to be some I have to watch. I have to buy some stuff to watch it. All the old stuff she did with Mickey Rooney and all that.
I may have a few for you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so that's all the same thing. So a one-sentence synopsis of She Loves Me. Set in a parfumery in 1930s Hungary, co-workers George and Amalia are bitter rivals in person, but unbeknownst to them, are also anonymous romantic pen pals in an adaptation of perhaps the first enemies to lovers rom-com.
I love that.
And it's great. Yeah. So it starts, It starts. We're in Budapest in 1934, and the employees of Marichek's Parfumery arrive at work. So we have all these employees. So we have, and half of the men in this show go by their last name, and half don't.
I don't know.
So there's Sipos, who is a fretful middle-aged salesman with a family. There's a teenage delivery boy, Arpad. There is the 30-something Ilona, who is having an affair with Kodai. And there's George, who is the shy assistant manager. And then there's Mr. Marichek, who owns the store.
Yes.
So they open up the store, they're greeting all the customers, whatever. And George reveals to Sipos that he has been exchanging letters with an anonymous woman, and they only call each other dear friend. Ooh, spicy. So that's sort of how the day starts. And Marichek says, oh yeah, you should get married. It's the best thing. And he talks about being a bachelor and all that. And they start stocking the shelves with something they've just got in with, is this musical cigarette case. And everyone is like, how do we sell this? And Mr. Marichek is like, no, we need to sell this right now, immediately. So a nervous young woman, who is Amalia, she enters. She hopes to get a job. And she's talking to George about it, and he says, no, we're not hiring. Please leave. She's like, no, I want to speak to your manager, please.
Oh, yeah. She pulled it.
Yeah. And then a customer comes in, and she starts looking at these cigarette boxes, and Amalia takes this upon herself to say, let me prove myself. So she sings a song about how it's actually this candy dish, and it plays music to... There's just a small amount of fat shaming in this musical, too. About it plays music to remind you, maybe don't have too many sweets. But she really works the saleswoman in her. She's like, you and me, sister, we're the same. And we both need this thing. And she makes her first sale, and she gets a job. So this is summertime. In the good old summertime. And we sort of go through the year to Christmas. So we're at sort of the early days of winter. Ilona and Kodai are fighting. Mr. Marichek is getting short-tempered with George. We sort of don't know why at first. And George and Amalia are just fighting all the time. So we have more songs about the pen pals. And eventually George... lets everybody know that they have made a date. There is going to be a date. The two pen pals are going to meet. He has this number called Tonight at 8, which is all about how excited he is. And Amalia also has a song that she sings to Ilona called I Don't Know His Name or What He Looks Like. She's just excited to meet him. So Marichek is mad, and we're going to find out soon why, but he decides to take it out on his staff and says, you all have to stay late, and I think it's decorate for Christmas in this show. Sometimes it's like you have to take inventory. It's like he's shutting it down. And this really puts a damper on George and Amalia because they both have this date with each other that they don't know yet, but they're both like, no, I need to leave right now. So what happens? Does he let her go? Yes, he lets Amalia go, but George asks to leave, and he says no, so George quits.
Yes,
which is like, that's not good. That's not good for the shop. So we go to the restaurant where they are supposed to meet, and Amalia has this like heartbreaking song called "Will He Like Me," and I was listening to this cast recording today, and it's just like, who has not been in this position where you're like, oh my god, what is happening?
Yeah. You're so swept up. You're like, I've imagined all of it. Even if you have proof and facts, you're like, no, I made it all up.
No, I made it up.
Hate me.
They're
going to hate me.
Yeah, I'm so ugly. Why would anybody like me? Like, just these kinds of thoughts. And she has this line about, I can't hide behind my paper and pen anymore. It's just like...
It's like pre-internet dating.
Yes.
Which, terrible place. Sidebar. But.
Yeah. Internet dating?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. If Jeremiah ever, knock on wood, if he dies young, I'm just going to get a bunch of dogs.
Do it.
Yeah.
I highly recommend.
Do not want to dive into that world at all.
The song's beautiful.
Yeah, gorgeous song. So we go back into the shop where Kodai and Ilona are still there, and Kodai has a song called Ilona, which is one of my favorite songs in the whole show. In the revival, it's Jane Krakowski and Gavin Creel, who are just... magic together.
Delicious.
And Jane Krakowski is so perfect in this role. Ilona's like the sort of ditzy blonde, meets a lot of men, but she she's so smart and plays it so well. She's so funny.
And can kick her face.
Can kick her face.
Woo,
incredible.
So
yeah. So they have a line, and he's like, she's doing the splits, and he's sliding her around the floor and everything. And then Marichek says, oh, you know what? You guys can leave. And Kodai's like, cool, I have a date with another woman. See you later. And she's like, oops. So she has this line. She has a song called I Resolve. And it's like, I resolve not to be so stupid. I'm going to take better care of myself. I'm done with this guy. Mm-hmm. She's like, good for you, girl. Love that. So we're back at the restaurant. George decides to, he says he's nervous. So he asks Sipos to come with him to sort of scope out the situation with dear friend. And they get to the restaurant and they realize that it's Amalia. So they see her, she does not see them. So George enters and sits down with Amalia. She does not put the pieces together that he is dear friend, and he just starts like making fun of her, and she's like, dude, leave, my date is coming soon. And he's like, all right, see you later. And then she just thinks that dear friend didn't show up at all, and she has it's like, it's so sad. The restaurant is closing, and she just has like her rose in her book as that's her indicator that it's her.
Both of our shows, our characters got stood up. Poor Horace. I think he got the better end of the deal, though.
Yeah, that's fair. So also at the end of the act, we meet Mr. Marichek's private investigator, who he has met because he thinks his wife is cheating on him, and that's why he's been so upset with everybody. And he had assumed it was George, which is why he's been so mad at George. But guess what? It's Kodai.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, it's Kodai. And so he's really upset that his wife has cheated on him, and he attempts to take his own life. And that
is how you end an act.
That is the end of the act.
Yeah.
And I will say Marichek is fine. We open act 2. He's okay. We have some shenanigans with Arpad. He's like, listen, you should promote me to salesman now that George is gone. Look at all these things I can do. But I kind of don't want to get too much into it because it's just so good, which means I don't talk about Vanilla Ice Cream, which is
it's okay.
One of my favorite musical theater songs in the canon, but it's when Amalia starts to put the pieces together that not even that George is dear friend, but just that she has feelings for George too. Yeah. And she's sick and he brings her vanilla ice cream and she's like,
this, bingo. Oh,
this man brought me a small treat. This is
it's the bare minimum, right? Oh, I love women in musical
when
theater
Jeremiah just goes to the gas station and brings me home a Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar, it's like, this is love.
Yes, it is.
What is love if not that, right?
And if I told you I didn't want a snack, yes, I did.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
Even if I don't want one right now, I want one later. So just buy me the peanut butter cups and it'll be fine.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, man. Okay, so She Loves Me, Hello Dolly would be a great double feature.
Absolutely.
I
feel bad. I yapped and yapped. So.
No, don't at all. I always have all these notes and then I'm like, I'm just going to skip through half of this.
Okay.
But it's a great finale. It's at Christmas. They do this 12 Days of Christmas song where everyone is shopping, and then it's like, oh, it's Christmas Eve. What's going to happen? And it ends the way all of them do because it's wonderful. But if you like any of those, you've got Mail Shop Around the Corner movies. This is the musical version of it. And it's just, again, another lovely, nostalgic. Yeah, it's 1934 Germany, but it's not... or 1934 Hungary, but it's not the cabaret thing that's happening at the same time. There's none of that. It's just this perfect little
bubble,
isolated, encapsulated bubble of just perfume and good times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what you need, especially now. We need those fun, nostalgic moments.
Yeah, of course it's important to be informed and to be consume art that is critical, but it's also important to enjoy things that you like.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yeah. I want to show up sometimes and just turn off the noise and let the bubble gum just seep right into the brain.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not even Real Housewives kind of escape it, that kind of, which everybody's got a soft spot for reality TV, 100%. But it's just, both of these are such a good time, and thank you so much for being here. Thank you for bringing everything on. Is there anything else you'd like to plug while you're here?
If you haven't gotten your season subscriptions to SLOC yet,
Yes.
get them now.
Do.
Call Jeffrey P. Hawking at the box office
He
to
would
get
love
them.
to answer all your questions about the seating arrangements
Yes,
there.
and whether or not they are bleachers or risers or true chairs.
Yeah, or on the aisle.
Or on the aisle.
Yeah.
Specifically. I'm sure he will love me for saying that. Also, just see local theater.
Yes.
Go see theater. We have so much theater in the Capital District, a wealth of theater. We are truly spoiled.
Yeah.
So go see something. There is always something going on.
Yeah, there's something for everybody. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Diana.
Yay.
Thanks for having me.
Two Show Day is hosted by me, Diana Shabai Booker. Cover art is with contributions from Ivy McGurran. If you'd like to get in contact with us, please visit our link tree at linktr.ee/2showday.